Maybe so.
So, I've been doing videos kind of the same way for like the last 5 years now, and maybe it's a good idea to change up the formula a bit, try something new. So, for this video, I'm going to try to do the review myself instead of using an avatar. So, without further ado, let's talk about... What was that?
Me, you douche nozzle. I wanted to review Celestial Advice. I talked so much shit about it last time.
Well, technically, I was talking that shit too.
Well, technically, I was talking that shit too. Answer me this, why am I being put out to pasture, pun definitely intended, as a result of you deciding to make like 2 videos in a 2-year span and losing almost all your fans?
It's just an experiment. I'm not phasing you out or anything. Like, if everything goes well, I'll do episode reviews, and you could do those fun little side videos that we both like doing so much. Kind of like how Josh Scorcher does episode reviews, and Firebrand does taking episodes too seriously and collabs.
In the meantime, go have some fun or something.
Like, think of this as a vacation for you.
Alright, fine, but this conversation isn't over.
Stupid jerk face. I'm the whole reason people come to this channel. I mean, look how cute I am. I mean, put me on the bench.
He's fine. He's just being a diva. He does that sometimes. Anyway, let's talk about Celestial Advice.
So maybe this is an unfair statement, but for me at least, season premieres and finales get held to a different standard than other episodes. Not necessarily a higher one, but a different one. I expect season premieres to do stuff that will set up big things for the rest of the season, and finales to pay that stuff off. That seems like fair expectations.
And Celestial Advice does that. And then it decided not to.
I mean, it set up a really big moment for this season. Starlight getting sent to parts unknown to spread the knowledge she's learned from Twilight & Co. to all parts of Equestria, like a friendship disciple. They built it up all episode, and since this was only a one-parter, we knew something big would happen around minute 19. And something big did happen. Twilight said Starlight had completed her lessons and was ready to leave the nest, so to speak.
And then they just went, you know what? Never mind. Forget what I just said. You don't have to go just yet.
No! 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 Oh, come on! Boo this man!
You know what this felt like? It felt like the writers wanted to pull the trigger on Starlight leaving, but then were like, wait, we still have like 10 episodes that we really like that wouldn't make any sense if they didn't have Starlight and they didn't take place in the castle. Okay, never mind, scrap the idea for the premiere, we'll think of something else. But we really like this episode too. Fine, we'll make Starlight stay. You're lucky you're cute.
Now, if there's one thing this episode did really well... real character development for Celestia! I had an idea for how I wanted Celestia to be portrayed, and Celestial Advice basically got it perfectly. Knowledgeable, caring, with just a hint of not taking this too seriously despite being a literal goddamn sun goddamn son? She's been doing this job for over 1,000 years, and I'd be willing to bet she has lots of practice with dealing with proteges and knowing how to get through to young people.
And they're probably all dead now, and I just made myself sad.
But yeah, the scene where she breaks down in laughter after hearing how much Twi's relationship with Starlight reminded her of her own relationship with Twilight was a pretty fun bit of character building.
Oh, and this joke right here.
Are you talking about Twilight? I can't see what you're thinking about.
Yes, Spike.
That might be one of the best fourth wall breaking jokes in the show.
Like, yeah, we can see what's happening, but Twilight and Spike can't.
Very clever, you're getting good at this.
So Celestia was really good here. On the other hand, Discord was kinda shit. Now, one of my favorite things to say on this channel is Pinkie Pie is hard to write in a supporting role. Well, bad news, Discord is even harder.
Aside, Why have we never gotten a Pinky Discord episode? Is it because their humor is too similar? Because I feel like that would be amazing.
Anyway, one of my favorite Discords ever was in Discord and Harmony, and in most of that episode, he was just talking to himself, but the dialogue and voice acting is always so entertaining with Discord that even if the episode itself is kind of mediocre, Discord being in such a prominent role makes it better.
Conversely, you have this episode.
Here, Discord isn't the main character. That's either Celestia or Twilight. Spike and Starlight have a more prominent role as well, meaning Discord is at best the 5th most important character in this episode alongside Trixie, Thorax, and the rest of the main 6. And all he did with the role was make things worse for everyone else. He put Twilight on edge from the start, he led on Starlight and the main 6 about what was coming.
I think I just like it when things happen to Discord more than when Discord happens to things, if that makes sense. I think that makes sense.
Now, one of the strangest things about this episode was its runtime. This was the first season premiere that only lasted 1 episode.
Personally, I was okay with this since half of this episode was already pointless.
The entire bit where Twilight, Celestia, and Spike jump into alternate futures for Starlight just got annoying to watch, and it happened quickly.
Although I feel like maybe the Changeling one could happen. Like if Pharynx wanted to get dickish, he could have just did what Twilight imagined and made to change a Changeling that much more intense.
But all that happened was Twilight would think of a pairing for Starlight, and she'd do the mind warp there, and how could this go hilariously, horribly wrong? And then Spike would turn to the camera like, are you seeing the shit I have to put up with? And it just kept happening over and over again. I guess that leads to the other really nice thing about this episode, that being Spike's role as audience surrogate and assistant extraordinaire. The later seasons seem to have made a bigger effort to not make Spike such a punching bag.
Like if this were season 4, Spike probably would have gotten teleported into a wall by Trixie and all bottled up, and we'd be expected to celebrate it. Season 4 was great, but not in certain places.
But yeah, here Spike did everything a good assistant needed to do. Kept Starlight's attention long enough for Twi to get the measurements for the mirror, kept Twilight from going off the deep end during her visions, told a couple of good jokes here and there, but they also remembered that he's still a kid. I mean, look at that face right there. That's real childlike wonder that you can't buy in the store.
So, what about Twilight? We've talked about damn near every other character that's had real screen time here, but not Twilight. And let me pose a serious question for you. If fans get tired of Fluttershy learning the same lessons over and over again about overcoming her shyness, why don't they feel the same about Twilight and her neurosis?
This is something that Twilight's had to deal with since season 1, and it's really never gotten any better. All of the main 6 have at least one major flaw that they're trying to work through and improve since the show started. Cadence's breathing exercises helped with Twilight's stress, but that got blown up in the same episode it appeared in. Here, she's still basically the same neurotic, worst-case scenario envisioning pony she's been since lesson 0.
Is it because her breakdowns are hilarious? Well, kinda, but so are Pinky's, and she's at least shown some improvement there.
Look at Secrets and Pies when Pinky found out Rainbow didn't like her pies. She was upset, but she didn't totally lose her mind like she did in Party of One. With Twilight, even later in the season in A Royal Problem, she's still blowing a gasket, especially when it comes to the Royal Sisters. I'm not wanting perfection, I just want some clue that she's improving in this regard. So that's mostly everything. The story was basically just a character bit about Twilight possibly losing a friend. The dialogue was fine, especially from Sunbutt, but no one else had a bad day, besides maybe Discord, who was kind of more annoying than anything else. The moral was... Did this episode have a real moral? Not really. Maybe something for adults about knowing when to let children leave the nest, but that was kind of done better in the Breezy's episode. I think that's all the major stuff, so let's go into the little things that caught my eye.
After all, you saved Equestria from Queen Chrysalis.
I quite like this part because it's a nice little spin on what would normally be just a normal exposition dump.
Of course the dialogue's kinda slow and meandering, Spike's stalling for time. Like they could have done this scene with them just walking down a hallway or something and it would have been boring, but this was nicely done.
It's like Rarity always says, there's no such thing as overdressed.
Spike, what even are your scales?
3, 2, 1.
What if they become too ambitious?
Spike's the best.
Man, there was a lot of crying in this episode.
Hang on, I gotta give this somewhere.
Here it is. Have a no Sean Morano. How does a human pair of eyeballs do that? That's so weird.
Darn it. I was hoping you'd send her to my realm. We could have been roomies.
If Twilight's nervous about Starlight going to the Dragonlands and the Changeling home, she'd have a heart attack sending Starlight to Discord's realm.
But I can't show up alone. She'll think that she's my only friend. I know a trick that'll turn Celestia's castle into cheese. Do you think it's a good idea? That's just the first of many cheese jokes if we go down this path.
Okay, I'm now 100% on board with this timeline.
And that is Celestial Advice. Two characters had really standout performances. Celestia put in the showing that we've been waiting years for, and Spike had one of his best performances to date. But Discord was just there to get the tension going, Twilight was neurotic and wasn't thinking straight, and large chunks of this episode could have been cut out. If this was a mid-season episode, I'd be more inclined to give this episode a pass, but this was supposed to be the setup for something bigger this season, and that just didn't happen, which meant this episode lacked something pretty major for a season premiere. In the end, I'll give Celestial Advice a 5.8 out of 10.
So, that's all for me. Thanks everyone, and I'll see y'all later. Wonder what Apple Flip's up to.
You know what? You're right. Coming here is definitely making me feel better.
Yeah, there aren't many ponies I can watch hoofball with. Nothing like a nice relaxing game with no twist endings or drama in sight.
Oh my freaking god! What the balls was that?
Who would even
I
do
hate
that?
hoofball now! This is poop! I'm out of here!
Wait, what? Don't leave me all alone!
I need a chili dog. I'll buy you a soda.
Deal.